The International Olympic Committee has the honor to announce that the Games of the 35th Olympiad are awarded to Brisbane, Australia.
The official announcement, Brisbane will host the 2032 Olympics. And the fireworks display will run for a couple of minutes. We'll take some of that. So we saw there those scenes, the IOC President Thomas Bach announcing Brisbane as the winner of the 2032 Olympics. It was a rubber stamping event, but an exciting announcement nonetheless. You've got to kind of feel proud as an Australian that we will be hosting the Olympics again in 2032. I spent 5 years working in Brisbane. It is such a gorgeous city and they love their sport up there. So this is going to be absolutely huge. Let's bring in ABC Sports' Quentin Hull, who is joining us from Brisbane, from that event that is taking place on the foreshore of the Brisbane River in South Bank, not far from the ABC headquarters. Quentin, what's the atmosphere like there? People must be absolutely thrilled.
It's an absolute cacophony here, Karina. It's not quite the early hours of the morning and Sydney Harbour as we had back in 1993 because, of course, on that occasion, we didn't know. But there's been a slow build-up to this moment and now this part of the world, Australia, can celebrate that the Games are coming back here for just the third time. And you can hear the noise in the background. I can't get into the live side. It's absolutely packed. Classic In Excess hits in the background. It's a party. And the biggest party in the world is coming to Brisbane and South East Queensland in 2032.
Yeah, where exactly are you? Is this taking place in South Bank?
So I'll turn around here. This is the South Bank Piazza, just behind me. That's the proposed venue for the 3-on-3 basketball competition, one of the new sports that has invigorated the Summer Games of recent years. And just down that way there, I'm not too far away from the wheel, and the forecourt of Brisbane's South Bank is going to be the venue for the archery, just like the wonderful venue in Rio where they have the end of Carnival. We had the shadows of Westminster in London for events as well, like the beach volleyball. That's down. People coming through, everything's happening here. But yeah, this is a part of the heart of what is going to be a Games which is not only here in Brisbane but spread down to the Gold Coast, to the Sunshine Coast as well. And as ever, those football games are going to be held in regional Queensland and Sydney and Melbourne as well in the preliminaries.
Yeah, so Quentin, we're just seeing some pictures live from Tokyo now where I think Anastasia Palaszczuk is about to sign the official documentation accepting the bid to host the Olympics. So that's some of the pictures that we're seeing on our screens at the moment. But I want to keep talking to you because you have been to 3 previous Olympics, so you know exactly what a city faces in the lead up to it and then what it's like at the time. But You know, you've lived in Brisbane for a long time now. This is huge for Southeast Queensland, isn't it?
It's going to redefine the agenda of this part of the world for the next generation. And I don't just say that in a sporting context. You look at Australia's cities and the way that Sydney is so well connected south, north and west. Melbourne and its infrastructure out to Geelong, out to the regions. Well, as we know, Queensland has grown so much in the last generation that the system is clogging up to get to and from the Gold Coast, to and from the Sunshine Coast. But because the federal government came on board with the infrastructure promise to spend the money to get all of those things in order to help get this bid over the line, that's going to be the huge community benefit. And it's not just the sporting infrastructure, but you think of the Paralympic Games as well, and the way that Australians who aren't as movable as most of us, they are going to get a massive boost to be able to move around the city so much easier and bring Brisbane truly now onto the world stage as someone that can rightly stand alongside the likes of Sydney and Melbourne on the East Coast as world cities of this country.
Yeah, you mentioned there the Paralympics. That shouldn't be forgotten here. It's not just the Olympics that Brisbane will be hosting, but the Paralympics too. And it's going to be a huge moment for those Australian Paralympians as well as Olympians come 2032.
Indeed. Oh, look, and just trying to find a couple of Aussie fans. It's a different feel. It's not the outright jubilation that we saw on the banks of Sydney Harbour, because that was all the way down to the wire and everyone was wondering whether or not Beijing was going to pip us. Of course, Beijing got their games in 2008, so it was a fait accompli. Look, it's cold by Brisbane standards. We've got scarves here. But, you know, they're Aussie green and gold scarves, and now we've got hits of noise works in the background. I can't get past this fence, sorry, because there are just people everywhere.
Yeah, I think people are dancing to stay warm, and the crowds are so huge because Quentin, you won't know this, but we've actually got a split screen. So you're in one of the top corners of the screen. The rest of the screen is what's taking place live in Tokyo, and then the bottom of the screen are those celebration scenes from Brisbane where those huge crowds have gathered. Absolutely.
How do you feel, mate?
Pretty excited. Awesome feeling.
I mean, we knew we were going to win, but now that it's over the line?
Never say never until those final words, I guess. But yeah, I was really hoping that we would get it done, and it looks like we did.
The boxing kangaroo, mate, there it is. Just a few of the people around here, Karina.
Oh, look, I think Brisbane's going to be partying long into the night tonight. Quentin, how much of a role did the Gold Coast hosting the Commonwealth Games in 2018 play in putting this bid together?
That's a really good question. I think probably not as big a role as we'd think. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, because a lot of the infrastructure that was put in place for those games will be reused or repurposed for this Olympics.
Well, you're right. The Anamias velodrome that was built down at Chandler, that's going to be a part of the track cycling, of course. Down at Broadbeach, where the beach volleyball was conducted for those games, that's going to be the site for the beach volleyball. And, of course, the world's going to be looking so much at Australia for that competition. And the triathlon was at Southport. And the plan is that the triathlon in 2032 will be down there as well. So there are those bits and pieces. The Gold Coast Leisure Centre is going to host judo and wrestling. That was built at Carrara for those games. So you're right, it was one of the first steps. And, you know, John Coates has had this dream for a long time, and to get the mayors on board, then the state government, and then to finally say, well, look, this can't happen unless we fix the roads, we fix the transport. And when that money was promised by the federal government, it basically got them over the line.
Yeah, because it's a cost-sharing exercise between the state and the federal government. They're trying to do it on a much smaller budget than what we've seen for previous Olympics. I'm guessing that budget's probably going to get blown somewhat, but still,
yes, it's the next question, isn't it?
How
Just
much
see if I can weave my
cost?
way in a bit closer here. Some of the people are coming out. How's that, guys? Woo-hoo! All right. Yeah, they are filing out slowly. How many people are in there? I couldn't get in. Lots of people?
Yeah, lots.
Okay, absolutely. Back it on. Oh, and how good's it going to be? All of the infrastructure for the Paralympic Games.
Yes, hopefully it's accessible too.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Thanks for your time. So they're just filing out of the live site here, Karina.
Yeah, how do you think history is going to remember this moment when the Games were announced for Brisbane, given we are in the midst of a pandemic? 13 million people in Australia are currently in lockdown. It's not quite the same as 1993 when Sydney was announced as the host city, is it?
No, I don't think there's going to be 1990s dance songs that are remixed to the voice of one Antonio Samaranch saying the winner is Sydney, as was the case back in the 90s. But
you didn't quite say it right, Quentin. I think you forgot a syllable in there. Sydney.
Sydney. It wasn't as bad as Atalanta when he did that for the previous games. But, yeah, look, it's a different time for the IOC. They've been through Rio and what was a very prosperous country at the announcement of those games in Brazil. The world economy turned on Brazil quickly, and that was the tipping point for those games to turn out into one of the tougher of recent memory next to Athens. And already they've gone back to the bankable world cities of Paris in 24 and LA in 32. LA coming up for its third, 24 and 28 for LA coming up for its third games. So I think Brisbane is then the little spread of the wings again. Let's change it up a bit. Let's not go to a massive city, but let's involve the entire state and country's infrastructure as a part of bringing the games back to the Asian part of the world. And as we know, they like the TV going from different time zones. So we're in the Asian time zone, this time in Tokyo. And then we go back to Europe and then to the North Americas again. So there is a bit of that cyclical nature to it. And Australia's a sure thing. We've done the Olympics so well twice before, Commonwealth Games on a number of occasions, Rugby World Cup, etc., etc. The world in these times needs a trusted host, and the timing from that point of view, amid the pandemic, the IOC members would have to be very, very brave to look this gift horse in the mouth, and they haven't. They've decided to go with something that they know has got a very good chance of succeeding.
Okay, let's talk about the athletes. What does it mean for Australian athletes to be able to compete at an Olympics at home?
Well, for those that get there is the advantage on the day. Hope I'm not too loud here, just sort of cruising by to see what's still going on. They're still playing the music. For those that get there's the advantage of getting to compete in front of family and friends. But that to me, and that I think to most Australians, is the smaller advantage. It's the dream that's planted today. It's those kids that will go and start swimming, running, picking up badminton rackets, becoming judokas, all of these types of things that they might not get to the games, but because they've got a dream planted, it's going to take them to a part of life that they may not have gone to, if not for the goal of getting to the games. Some will get there, some will win medals, but a lot won't. And it's the biggest story of those that won't, I think, is what always we talk about when it comes to legacy. It's not just the moments and the medals. It's not just Lauren Burns in Taekwondo or Ian Thorpe or, jumping Jai Tarima and Tatiana Grigorieva going so close that night that Kathy won. You don't have to go close. It's about what the dream drives for society. And in Australia, we don't need much of an excuse to go out and be active, particularly in this part of the world. And now there's 11 years of dreams that are going to be built on.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Hopefully, Quentin, you're still around to cover it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. I know that you have radio commitments as well, and you've done this for us. So thank you so much for speaking to us from the Brisbane foreshore. I know you're off to Tokyo as part of the Paralympic team, so good luck with your work there as well.
Yeah, thanks, Karina. It's certainly a different feel. Not that I was there in 1993. It's not the raucous scenes of Sydney because this is a different vote, but nonetheless, people in this city tomorrow are going to wake up to the 2032 Olympic City, and it will build. And 11 years is going to seem like a long time, but already there's people that can't wait.
Yeah, history has been made. Quentin, thanks so much.